Welcome to this video. We are going to use this dovetail machine here to take and make our dovetail joints for our box. So they're going to end up like that on each corner. And I'm going to show you how to load the machine and how it's going to work. We will start by cutting the joint that we labeled S1, B1, that's for side and back. I kind of have an example that's taken apart here. The S stands for the side, which gets the tails, and the B stands for back, which gets the pins. And the machine is going to cut this together like this so that those perfectly match up. Now you don't have this groove cut yet or a rabbet at the top, but you can see that is what our goal is for this first joint. It's going to look like that in that corner. Start by finding the corner that's labeled with the ones, S1 and B1. This machine is designed to make drawers, which is a type of box, and that's what we're using it for. So when it says side of drawer, it's referring to the side of the board that we labeled S for side. We start by loading this side piece vertically in this clamp area on the right side of the machine. There's some notes here to help us know how to orient the piece. First, the top has to face this way, and the inside has to face out towards you. So top that way in towards you, and then we're going to put it down until it hits the bottom. And once it's on the bottom here, we're going to push it over until it's against this stop. So it has to be flat against the bottom, against the stop, and then we're going to clamp it down with this bar. Make sure it's against the bottom, tight against the stop, and then you're going to tighten this clamp into place. Now that that piece is clamped in, we're going to take our other board that's labeled B1, and we're going to load it from the back of the machine. There's a few notes here to help us know how to orient the piece in this side of the machine. This part's covered up, but it says top edge faces down, front back. We're calling this the back, so we want to do the B part. And there's another note over here that the inside, so whichever is labeled in, that goes down, and the top is going to go against the stop. So we're going to place this in, top goes there, inside faces down, so you should see the word out. And we're going to slide it in until it stopped by our side piece. Now you want to make sure that it's tight against the stop and tight against the side piece, and then holding it in place, you're going to rotate this clamp until it's in this position, and then it should be held in place. Before you make the cut, you are going to look in here and make sure that it says B1 and S1 to cut the first corner on this side of the machine. Before we start making the cuts, you are probably going to want some ear protection and of course some safety glasses, and some students, because this makes quite a bit of dust, they even go with the face shield. Here's how the machine works. There is a dovetail router bit that is going to spin, and this is going to ride along these fingers, and it's going to cut the dovetails and the dove pins at the same time. Make sure that the machine is not touching any material when you turn it on. Start by moving the machine along the finger guides slowly, making sure that it rides along the guides all the way in and out. And you can recut areas if you missed a spot or if the guide didn't stay in contact with the fingers. Don't go too fast because you might end up with some breakage along the grain, but the scoring you did with the marking gauge should help. Park the machine in the middle and stop it in between loading each of the boards, and of course wait until it stops before you remove the material. Remove the material, place it back over with your other parts. Alright, our first one is done. Now we're going to move on to corner number 2. So S2, B2. We're going to load the machine. The side gets loaded first. Top faces that way, in faces towards you. Make sure it's down at the bottom, tighten it against the stop. Then for B2, bottom 2. Inside faces down, top faces that direction. You should see B2 going that way. Slide it in until it hits. Hold it tight against the stop. Check to make sure that everything is against the stops, against the bottom, and that it says S2 and B2 on this side. Start the machine, making sure it's not in contact with any material. Going from the left to the right, start guiding it along the fingers, slowly making sure that it goes all the way in so that it's cutting those pins all the way. If you need to go back, you can. As long as the material doesn't move, you can go back over the same area again. So make sure that everything is cut clean before removing the material. So this piece is done. That was B1 with our pins. S2 with our tails. We have B2's tails. So now we're moving on to corner number 3. That's S3 and B3. We load the side first, top that way, inside faces out. Make sure it's against the stop and flat against the bottom. And then B3, top faces that way, inside down. You should see outside, tight against the stop, tight against the other board. Lock it in place. Alright, we'll put our boards back, see where we're at. B2 is going to go with S2. The tails are done on side number 3 and back number 3. So now just one left, S4 and B4. S4, top goes that way. Inside faces out against our stop, flat against the bottom. Lock it in place. Don't pinch your fingers. B4, inside goes down, top faces that way. Slide it all the way until it's touching the stop. Hold it in place, that clamp, so that it's tight. the machine makes a lot of dust, so before you leave the machine, just remove the vacuum hose and vacuum up the area. Alright, let's put these boards back in their spots. B3, B3, S4, B4, and S1, B1. Alright, you can dry fit this together at this point if you want to. They're probably pretty tight. I wouldn't overdo this. I'd wait until I'm assembling my box completely, but you will be able to tell if they are going to fit and if the tops and the bottoms are flush. And if they're not, then we'll have to redo some parts.